From being able to destroy cover that enemies are hiding behind, to just cutting out the middleman entirely and bringing the building those enemies are ducking in crumbling down on their heads, there have been many games over the years that have tried to fully satiate gamers' desire to wreck literally everything in sight. I'm Si for WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games where you can destroy everything. Number 10. Samurai Zombie Nation. This NES title was one of the first games to really let players cut loose, as it not only lets you blow up half of New York City, it keeps score while you do it. You play as the great head of the samurai, Namakubi, who sets out for America when he hears that the legendary blade Shura has been stolen by an alien named Darkseid and his partner in crime, the Statue of Liberty. Oh, and when I say great head of the samurai, I don't mean that he's the guy in charge, I mean he's a literal floating head. And the great part comes from the fact that him being a flying head now apparently means he can shoot explosive spit and his eyes are carpet bombs. Considering the lack of storage space on the NES, it's astounding how much destruction this game managed to fit onto the cartridge. Every shot that doesn't hit the enemy will blow up a segment of whatever building full of poor innocent people was behind it. It may seem primitive now, but this game pioneered the idea of giving a player the ability to lay waste to everything in their path. Number 9. Battlefield 5. The Battlefield games have always prided themselves on using destructible environments to make their online combat more interesting, and 5 has the most dynamic of the bunch. See, with a lot of games with destructible environments, the objects that you can destroy are maybe more fragile than they would be in real life. For example, buildings that fall over when touched with so much as a light breeze. In fact, many games on this list will have that problem, which leaves the player wondering why this world is making all of its structures out of balsa wood and styrofoam. However, Battlefield 5 makes you work for that catharsis, with buildings reacting at least a little more realistically than other games to being hit by ordnance. Structures will often take multiple explosive rounds before collapsing, and while the destruction doesn't get super detailed, it is nice to have to work for that payoff for a change. While ultimately it's mostly just a cosmetic detail, it does lend a lot more excitement to gunfights when you see the world dynamically react to what you're doing to it. Number 8. Minecraft. Naturally, the first thing a lot of Minecraft players do, especially if they're playing in creative mode, is build a mountain of TNT crates and then watch as the resulting explosion does to the landscape and the frame rate what EA does to smaller studios unfortunate enough to catch their eye: burn. Even in survival mode, the ability to destroy nearly everything around you is part of what makes Minecraft the greatest creator sandbox out there. Also, again, it's just fun to blow a gigantic hole in the earth with a bunch of TNT stacked up to the sky. Minecraft plops you down in its world, shrugs its shoulders when you ask for your purpose, and just sits back and watches you tear this beautiful landscape to pieces. Number 7. The Incredible Hulk. When making an Incredible Hulk game, there is exactly one thing you must get right by law. Fortunately, the developers of the 2008 movie tie-in game understood this and pulled it off splendidly. While not the best Hulk game, the fact that this title lets the player go to town on poor defenseless New York demonstrates that it was made by folks who knew exactly what the appeal is of being the Hulk. It also helps that the Hulk can dynamically interact with the world he's destroying, like tearing a car in two and then smashing the two halves into makeshift gauntlets, or turning the top of a tank into a club. Which definitely helps, seeing as this game scours the Hulk toy box for every major antagonist he has to fill out the boss fight roster. Now, if all those mechanics sound familiar, it's because the game took an if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach to the formula set by the previous Hulk game, Hulk Ultimate Destruction. However, the higher detailed graphics of this PS3 title make the destruction just a bit more fun, even if Ultimate Destruction is overall a better game. Number 6. Dragon Ball Z: Raging Blast 2. Any game based on Dragon Ball Z needs to have some level of collateral damage. To do otherwise would be to miss the entire point of the endeavour. So it was inevitable that one would show up on this list. Out of all of them though, Raging Blast 2 makes destroying the entire field during a fight feel the most satisfying. This is mainly due to it not being a guaranteed thing that you will cause carnage just by getting off a big attack. The destructible parts of the environment are very specifically placed, and so you have to either shoot at or launch your opponent towards them to get that good catharsis. On top of that, you can interact with the environment in more strategic ways, like punching your opponent into a wall and pinning them there to get some free hits in. Top it all off with gorgeous laser effects for the special moves and gloriously massive explosions for the big attacks, and you get a DBZ game that makes you feel like you earned the right to be an all-powerful god. Number 5. Destroy All Humans 2. The Destroy All Humans games pride themselves on giving the player the ability to just absolutely give the USA the business. The player is granted free reign from the start just to go to town on whatever poor unfortunate metropolis Crypto237 has landed in. Destroy All Humans 2, in that sense, is the best of the bunch, thanks to both its better environment variety compared to the first game and not being Destroy All Humans 3. While Destroy All Humans 1 stuck to America for its runtime, 2 takes Crypto all over the world, from California to Britain to Japan and even the moon. Since all the areas stand out better, this naturally makes blowing them all to Kingdom Come all the more satisfying. The most fun to be had in Destroy All Humans 2 is simply flying around and frying everything in your way just to see how long you last before the military finally blows you to hell. Number 4. Just Cause 3. With the black market system from 2 being tightened and expanded for the next game, allowing you to order 3 sets of guns and 3 different vehicles at once for a night on the town, you'll be blowing entire cities into next week in no time flat. And when you do blow everything up, you get to marvel at how detailed Just Cause 3 is in portraying the main reason you buy the game. Not only do your targets go up in glorious fireballs, but bits and pieces of them go flying off into the distance from the shockwave. And if there were any unfortunate enemies nearby when you blow those gas tanks, they won't be there when the smoke dies down. The expanded weapon roster also makes the destruction more fun. An infinite number of remote explosives and the ability to grapple 2 objects together and remotely pull them to each other means that even when you've completely run out of ammo and grenades, you'll still be tearing the enemy's base to shreds. Number 3. Red Faction Guerrilla. When you start a new campaign, the first thing you're told upon gaining control of the protagonist is, here is a building, here is a sledgehammer, we would not like this building to be here anymore. The destruction in Red Faction Guerrilla is some of the most fun you will ever have tearing through a city, with every building being able to be meticulously torn apart. Unlike Destroy All Humans, buildings need to be properly demolished before collapsing, but it makes the result all the more satisfying. There is no sweeter feeling in this or any other world than setting some detonator charges at strategic points, getting a nice view some distance away and watching as the walls realistically blow outward from the blast and then the building collapses into bits before you. Number 2. Teardown. Red Faction Guerrilla went as far as it could with the technology and engine it had, but the physics were always a touch wonky. Shock of shocks, there's a reason most games don't go quite as far with their destructible environments as Guerrilla did. It's both really hard and really expensive. Fortunately, indie studio Tuxedo came along to do just that by taking the fun of Guerrilla and going super small scale. This indie title comes with the wonderful gimmick of the player getting to meticulously destroy everything they see in the game. This not only makes for a fun as hell mission-based title, where the player has way more options than they would normally to complete the objective since the environment is no longer a barrier, but also makes destroying everything super fun. Wrecking something in Teardown carries the same visceral, malicious enjoyment as destroying a big complicated Lego set that your younger sibling just put lots of work into, but without the consequences of your mum taking away your PS2. Number 1. MEGATON RAINFALL. The everything in this title might have been a bit of an exaggeration for most games on this list, but with MEGATON RAINFALL, that's no longer the case. This otherwise mediocre game from Pentadimensional Games has one single selling point to it that made it such a curiosity the year it came out. You can quite literally destroy everything with the press of a button. Want to blow up a city? The game literally warns you to watch your shots because you can just do that on a whim. Want to blow up a country? Charge your shot a bit longer. Charge it just a little bit longer than that, aim at the ground, and tell the entire planet so long and thanks for all the fish. Not even the stars are safe from your wrath, as leaving orbit and blowing up the rest of the solar system is as easy as pointing up at the sky and pushing a button. Frankly, the fact that the rest of the game is so underwhelming and honestly kind of ugly hardly matters. MEGATON RAINFALL was built to see how much destruction one player could wreak, and by God did it ever succeed there. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video in the comments below. As always, the views expressed in this video are the views of the writer, so let us know which destruction-based video games we missed, because we all enjoy causing just a little bit of havoc every now and then. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've been Cy for WhatCulture, and have a good week.